and greetings from Chicagoland. I'm Munira Zahabi, the niche navigator, and welcome to Munira's Musings. I'm your host, podcaster, author, coach, and international speaker. Each week, I bring you insightful conversations with extraordinary individuals who share their unique perspectives and stories. Join me on this captivating journey as we explore new ideas and inspirations. Now, let's dive into today's episode with our special guest.
Greetings from Chicagoland. Welcome to Munira's Musings, where we explore the unique stories of our incredible guests. Each episode is designed to not only highlight their journey, but also to uncover valuable insights that we can all learn from. Through their experiences, we aim to inspire, educate, and empower you in your own path. So sit back, tune in, and let's dive into this conversation with Dr. Carrie Graham. Dr. Carrie Graham is joining us all the way from North Carolina, and she is a doctor. So welcome to Munira's Musings. Dr. Graham, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, first I want to say thank you so much, Dr. Zahabi, for having me and for your listeners getting up this early to hang out with the two of us. I really appreciate that, and it's a true honor. Yes, I am in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I'm originally from Connecticut. And so my work has taken so many twists, and my life journey, I should say, really has taken so many twists and turns. Most of them I never expected. And it has been such an incredible journey that I'm very thankful for.
Awesome. So you tell us a little bit more about you. You said you're an entrepreneur, but you know that the work of an entrepreneur is never ending and it's not easy. So tell us about that. You are an entrepreneur. Tell us about your business.
Yeah. So I started in healthcare as a healthcare provider, and then I shifted, I should say, to being a healthcare educator. So I've spent the bulk of my career as a professor, university professor. And then in 2020, I left higher education, and I, like many people, was left without a job and no one was hiring, not sure what to do. And I decided, let me be honest, it was revealed to me that this was an opportunity for me to pursue my not pursue my PhD, but use my PhD, which is in adult learning and workplace learning. And I mentioned I was a healthcare provider because during those 20 years, I would sit through trainings, many of them required to keep my credential. And as I got more experience, I realized this is not it. They're failing me, so to speak. And so with that, I decided to help other entrepreneurs and small and mid-sized businesses improve their training programs, because most people don't know how to put together a training, whether it's an employee training, a workshop, a course, a boot camp. They're often doing things that they've seen or experienced before. And so I take my 25 plus years of experience and my PhD together to support businesses like yours, whoever's listening.
So this is awesome. Now, so training, right? You're talking about curriculums. And
yes.
So say I was to teach you about putting a podcast together.
Yeah.
So how would that work? What do you go through with me?
Yeah. So my clients come to me with existing content, right? So they've vetted their own content in some capacity, whether they've been running the program for years or they have all of their notes written down and they're ready to put it together. So they bring all that to me. We have a conversation about their audience, how they vetted the content and what their goals are, and also what their business values are. And that's where I get to be creative. I create a process and a framework for every single client based on what the client tells me. So I do not believe in a one size fits all. I never been the one size that fits all, right? So and all of my products and services are customized to meet the needs of the individual client. So we have conversation, and I provide the client with a framework that fits their business. So again, it's who is your audience? We explore at depth. Who's your audience? How should the content be organized and why, right? That's key, why. But also, how can we make sure that the audience then does and they know how to do whatever it is you're presenting to them.
That is amazing. So do you put it all together for them?
So while I have, excuse me, while I have the decades long experience of putting programs together, I've built so many programs over the span of my career. At this point, I don't do that heavy lifting for people. I show them how, I walk with them. So, you know, some of my clients have done the work themselves, but I'm available to guide them along the way, all the way from start, all the way to success. And I've worked with other clients who have a small team that can do the heavy lifting, and they reach out to me and say, are we doing this part right? Or we're stuck here. What should we do next? I'm always available to help move them to the next step in the process.
So why is a course for
Mhm.
any coach or any entrepreneur, why is a course needed? Why is that important?
Well, I will say this. Let me clarify. I don't think every business needs a course. I really do not. And that's, you know, for new entrepreneurs, that may be the message that they're getting, you know, from, especially if they work in the digital space. But I caution people to think that they need a course. There are multiple formats of trainings that you can have. So here's what I mean by that. A course is bound by content and time, and it covers multiple topics. A workshop covers a singular topic, like just one very narrow topic. It's still bound by time and content, but it's a shorter window. If you have a extensive curriculum, that is, again, it's sometimes bound, if it's not self-guided, it's bound by content, and depending upon how much time is allowed to complete it, but primarily content. So there are multiple ways. There's micro learning, which is a term that has been around for quite a while, but more recently people have gotten away from the true definition, but they're using that language. Micro learning is something that is a learning opportunity that is less than 15 minutes. It is less than, and actually a lot of recommendations would suggest less than 10 minutes. It's a very short period of time. And so that's when my customized work really steps in, is people sometimes will come to me and say, I need a course. And based on our conversation, I'll share with them, no, a course isn't exactly what you need. It is, in fact, some form of a training program as the umbrella term, but a course is not the thing. And that's what I really appreciate about my work, and that I love about my work, is that it's also an opportunity to educate business owners. So often we go into owning our own businesses to serve others or to create a product in another area, but it's not in how to develop effective training programs.
Perfect. So you said there's micro trainings. What else is there? There's a workshop training, and
Yep.
then there's a course.
Yep, there's courses, there are boot camps, and depending on what your topic is, a boot camp can be also a great option. If you want to help invigorate an individual around a particular topic, thinking about a boot camp, that might also be an option. We have lots of different fun names for things, but at the end of the day, your training, whatever format it is, it should have a very clear process, or purpose, I should say, a very clear purpose. And that purpose should focus on engaging the audience member, helping them remember the information, and then most importantly, helping them apply whatever the information is.
Okay, so what about challenges? Most people are now working on challenges, a 5-day challenge, a 3-day challenge. What do you think about those?
I like a challenge. I do like a good challenge. Again, it's, excuse me, you can call it whatever you want, but a challenge is an opportunity to really push people, right? So whenever you're stuck, and this is something that my mom taught me when I was a little girl, I got away from it, but I'm recognizing going back to it is really important. Whatever the thing is that you want to do, look that word up in the dictionary. It sounds pretty like, really, Dr. G, but look it up in the dictionary and be clear about what it is that you are using and doing so that there's a purpose to it. But a challenge is it's a good punch. It's not quite like a boot camp, but it's over a small window of time that helps get people moving in the right direction.
Okay, I like it. I like that wonderful thing. So you've taken all of your education and all of these opportunities. Which one was, and I know you can't talk about your clients, in this thing,
Yeah.
but which one was the most challenging?
I would say I have two that were challenging. They were equally challenging, but for very different reasons. Very different reasons. Three very different reasons. Okay. So the first, I'll work backwards. So the first, our most recent client that I had they worked in the tech space. It's a small business and they work in the tech space, and this director of operations and this founder were incredible about taking notes on all of their processes. But they hired me to help them create an onboarding and a new hire training. And so I asked, well, what is your current process for training new employees? And they said, one of them takes a piece of paper and like from their notes and reads it to them, and that's it. They had like almost 300 pages of notes. Now, they didn't read all of those, but that's how much detail their work required. And that was the only training that they were providing, right? So there were some other elements. So that was complicated in the sense that we truly were starting from ground zero, but they had all the content. So as someone who I am not claimed to be a content expert in every area, so I had to learn their content, which was fine, but figuring out all the different ways in which to gather all of that information and organize it in a way that makes sense for their new hires. So that was one. It was so much information, but I loved every minute of it. And they've had great success. The second, going backwards, was a gentleman who was in the financial management services, primarily around retirement. And he came to me because he felt like it was taking him a really long time to convert his clients, not so much as that they retire or invest with his company, but just make any decision around the retirement. And his content was really 2 pages. But he's really passionate about financial literacy and financial education. And he works in partnership with a larger Fortune 500 company. And so there were very specific guidelines that he had to stay within. So I would say, and like, again, I'm not a subject matter expert in financial management. So that was another challenging case, but I loved it. And he's done well as also. The final example that I want to share is a business owner who has had a training program, a certification program that had been around for 10 years. It was based on a book that they had written, and the book has multiple editions. And they had a team, right? A coaching team. So there were multiple areas that I had to address. It was this existing content. The client or their student demographic had slightly changed, and that didn't come up until I started working with them, that we figured that out. But we also had to incorporate feedback from the coaches and train the coaches. And so that was a lengthier project because they were so steep and deeply rooted in the great work that certification provides. And so again, we were able to sort all things out, make some refinements, not total revisions, but refinements. And they were off and running and did some train the trainer with the coaches. And I'm proud to say that they have turned around their student satisfaction and their student preparedness for their certification. So those are three very different challenges, but in each case, all the work was geared toward what does that business need to succeed?
Okay, so when you get a person who's trying to do this, what kind of questions do you, how should the person coming to you prepare themselves? What kind of questions would you give them before you have a meeting?
Yeah, so let me first share how the person finds me. So most people find me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my time. But they find me on LinkedIn because they'll say, I've read through your posts and it makes sense. I feel like you get me. So that's the first thing. That's the first thing professionally is on LinkedIn. When we actually start talking, there's often a sense of overwhelm and confusion. So as a business owner, if you have some type of training, or you want to have a training, but the thought of it and tackling it is overwhelming and you don't know which way to turn or which way to start, those are the people that make their way to me first off. And they have content of some capacity. So there's that. And what I do is I actually take them through my training assessment. Now, the training assessment is on my website. If people would like to use it, drcarriegraham.com, they can go and, do their own self-assessment. But ultimately, when I meet with clients, we go through the training assessment, but we do it as a conversation. So I'm going through every single one of the 6 dimensions of an effective training and a well-structured training, but I'm simply having conversation with them. And the reason I do it that way, as opposed to, okay, did you do this? Yes or no? Did you do that? Yes or no? We don't do that. We just have conversation because I'm able to identify in that conversation those points that their voice gets elevated or their body sort of shrinks down, because that clues me in that we need to stay here. We need to stay in this moment, not as a point of pushing on that pain or that thing that causes a challenge, but rather tell me more. Tell me why you feel this way. Tell me why you're overwhelmed. And it's in those moments that I'm really able to create and tailor my support toward their needs. So we go through the training assessment. Again, the training assessment covers 6 key areas. Those key areas focus around your audience or your end user, the content and how the content was built, what you do to apply it. But there's also categories around business alignment. So does your training actually align with your business core values?
Great. So, so for people who are entrepreneurs and they think you said there's a lot of noise out there about talking about having your own courses. Well, the gurus are telling us that you should make money while you're sleeping, and then you should have a course out there so that people can jump in the middle of the night and take the course. What are your thoughts about that? I mean, should every coach have I deal with mainly entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, authors. So what about those authors who have a book? Do they also have to have a course also? I mean, what are they going to teach? Do they have to know what what knowledge they want to impart?
Yeah, the individuals that I work with have a very clear understanding of the information they want to convey, and that they want to share. Does someone who has a book need a course? I don't know, because it depends on, what the book is. I wouldn't, in my expert opinion, would not advise that an entrepreneur who is just getting started, who's trying to figure out all the different things, right? We all know that when you're getting started, you've got systems, you've got marketing, you've got all your back end tech, you've got bookkeeping, you might have hires that you need to make, all of those things. And creating a course, I don't think I wouldn't say always. it's not always the best decision, right? Yes, we want our efforts to work for us while we're sleeping. However, that may need to take some time. And I want to share this, Munira, is that in the digital space, people are promoting what they do, right? So anytime I'm having a conversation, I'm talking about trainings, right? I'm talking about you need to pause and make sure that your training is good and strategic. If my subject matter expertise was in marketing, I would be saying, you need to have a marketing strategy. You need to make sure, right? So I think it's really, or I know it's really easy for an entrepreneur to get caught up in all the things that that they're hearing in the noise. And it's really easy to, like they say, that shiny object syndrome and, wanting to do all the things. And when I was starting my business, in those periods of when I was doing all the things, I wasn't getting anything done. But it was when I stopped and I focused and said, you know what, I need to focus this month or this quarter on my marketing strategy, period, and nothing else. That's when I made the most headway. When I decided to get my back end systems in place and streamline and automate, that's when that moved my business forward. So to answer your question, does every business need a course? No. If you are hiring people, you need to train them, and your people are a key element to your success. Do you need a course? No. Do you need an employee training? Yes. Excuse me. So it really depends on, what your business is and what your business model is.
So the question then is, do you have a course?
Such challenging questions so early in the morning. The truth of the matter is I don't have a course, actually, even though my work is around development. I don't have a course. Now, do I have an 8-week workshop series? Yes, I do, right? But in that, we're together, we're working on things. I'm providing guidance along the way. I'm supporting people as they develop skills in creating their own training, right? So I have that. I have my training assessment, which is self-guided. So it's not a course, it's an assessment, right? That people can take, they can look at, they can use it to get some clarity around whether or not they need additional support or not. But I do not have a course. That's
great.
I don't have a course.
Well, thank you so much. So you said people can find you where?
People can find me on LinkedIn. That is where I spend most of my social media time, even though I know we're on a different platform right now. And my website, you can access the training assessment at drcarriegraham.com. So drcarriegraham.com. And the training assessment is there, and there are other, there's also really good tips in the blog. So I do have a blog, and I also put a lot of great step-by-step suggestions and recommendations in there that people can use as well. But if you like social media, find me on LinkedIn.
Great, great. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You know that this is also part of your journey as an entrepreneurship. We hear the gurus tell us everything, but like Dr. Carrie Graham said, not everybody needs a course. You may need it later on, but when you're starting out, that's not the idea. You want to just put your systems in place unless you've come with a completely cookie cutter, or you have a complete product with all the notes like some of our clients, and now you're ready to dive in. And if you're still not sure how to go about it, just go connect with her and see how she can help you take your business forward. Yes. And I'm sure these tips and tricks help you move forward in your business. If you like what we are bringing to you, during our podcasts, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to our channel, because that way you'll get more information. We are everywhere where you can download a podcast and hear them. So check out our previous episodes as well. Until next week, when we come back with a new guest, a new perspective on entrepreneurship. Let's see you till then. Give us your comments and your comments and questions on what is it that you liked about this show, and how can we help you move your business forward. Until next week, see you, everybody.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Niche Navigator. We hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. Your support really helps us keep bringing you amazing content. For more updates and behind-the-scenes glimpses, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and all our other social platforms. The links are in the description below. We'd love to hear your thoughts and connect with you there. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next week.